Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day. It's game day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. And we have Coach Amy Eagan and Coach Addy Miller as they are both moving on from Drury. And Coach Eagan is on her way to the Final Four, and she's wearing her seatbelt. So great promotion
Yeah.
there. But Coach Eagan, Coach Miller, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Coach and Coach Miller, you and I go back. I hesitate to say a long way because I don't want to give away how old I am. But we go back to probably your sophomore year of high school, and just the travels that you've had. Just talk about how you arrived between Purdy High School and now the head coach at Cedarville, Ohio. What's that journey been like?
Yeah, it's been awesome. God's blessed me with a lot of different people in my life to learn from, and luckily been successful. And obviously, starting off at Purdy when I met you for the first time, just had a successful high school career. Won a lot of games, had a lot of fun. Was lucky enough to win a state championship one of those years. Knew I wanted to play college basketball. Went through the whole recruiting process. Obviously, it's a little bit different, and probably even different from Amy when she went through it too than it is now. But social media wasn't a huge thing back then. Didn't have any of that. Didn't have the transfer portal. So all of that was pretty different and crazy and good all at the same time. Ended up going to Wayne State in Nebraska my first 2 years. It was a D2 school up there. Really enjoyed it. Um, we won a lot there. Played for Coach K, which is currently the head women's coach at Cleveland State. So played for him for a couple years. Decided to come back home to Drury, so finished my last 2 years there. Won a lot of games there, obviously blessed, and played for Coach Miller both years that I was there. That was her first and second year at Drury. Got to play with some people that I knew in high school, so that was cool. I got to play with one of my teammates from Purdy, and then a lot of just local talent that we could kind of all transfer back to Drury a little bit at the same time. So that was a lot of fun to play with those girls again. And after that, I knew I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to coach ever since I was a little kid. My grandpa coached, my parents coached me growing up, so I knew that. I just didn't know to what extent, to what level. Um, Called some coaches that had recruited me throughout my process, and the first phone call I made was to Coach Lord at Pitt. He had recruited me a little bit, and really was just calling to see if he could give me some advice of where to go, be a GA, if that's the route I should take. And he pretty much was like, just come here and be mine. So I didn't really look anywhere else. Decided to go there right away and coach under him. And right then, I mean, the first couple of months, I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, and was coach, and learned a lot from him. Learned a lot of different things from my playing career and him, and then was lucky enough he went and took a D1 job in Texas. Coach David got the head job and hired me on as an assistant. So I was there for 4 years total, 2 years under Lord, 2 years under Coach David. Loved it, met a lot of great people. Pitt's awesome. Obviously, it's a football town, and I love football. So met my husband there. He coached football there at the time when I was coaching basketball. It was kind of, I mean, obviously it was God's vision and direction for us, but they kind of got let go. I was kind of looking to leave a little bit, so it just worked out timing wise. Coach Eagan gave me a call, and didn't really know her at the time. I knew her name, knew the success she had had, but didn't know her on a personal level. So talked to her a little bit on the phone and just felt that connection right away. We had the same vision and ideas and beliefs, and what the vision she had for Drury is the vision I have in my life. And so just connected there. Obviously decided to go to Drury. Would have changed that for the world. The last 3 years have been awesome. Um, Probably a little more emotional than I'd like to admit about it, but it's been good. And um, had the chance to leave a couple times. Wanted to get the national championship. We got second. We didn't quite get it, but the run we had was a lot of fun and something I won't forget. Working with her and Jordan and Taylor has been a blessing, and it's been awesome. And luckily had the chance to move on. I knew I wanted to be a head coach too. I just didn't know when it would happen and where and everything kind of like that. So lucky to have some options there. Kind of weighed the pros and cons. Obviously, I'm not sure how it would be my first choice if I could pick the dream school, but I just went there and it was where I needed to be. It's where God wanted me to be. I just loved it. They loved me. So just kind of all of the above. I felt like that was where I was supposed to be. So currently, the head coach there, and excited to see kind of what we can do up there.
Very good. And Coach Miller, like I said, goes back a long time for us. And another one that you've got some history with, Scott Purrier has been kind enough to join us here, and we'll bring him onto the screen. And Scott, how are you, sir?
Doing great, thanks. Did I miss any waterworks yet? I made Amy cry yesterday on radio, so
Not
I want to see
yet.
if I could keep my string up today with Addy and Amy. Maybe simultaneously if we can do that, okay?
When he said you were going to be on, Scott, and then Addy was going to be on, I was like, gosh, this is not going to be good.
Well, I'll just say this.
Waterworks.
That's more than Addy talked in the entire 2 years I was around her at Drury. So that's encouraging. Of course, she hung around with Andy Armstrong, who said absolutely nothing. But Addy had to be the talker in that group, right, Addy?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, no, congratulations to both of you. Got to work with Addy as a player at Drury and got to know Amy when she was on the other bench there at Truman, trying to beat Drury and was the enemy. And then got to know her when she got to town here and just two great hires by two universities there. They'll both do well.
And Coach Eagan, Coach Miller talked a little bit about her journey, going back to that South Shelby Cardinal days. Talk about your journey and how it ended up. Now you're at Lindenwood, a D1 school now, but relatively close, a lot closer than Addy. Addy's 9 hours away. You're about 2.5. But talk about your journey.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a journey for sure, up and downs, and a lot of good memories through everything. But yeah, I went to South Shelby High School and played there, and then had an opportunity after that to go to Truman State and had a great career there as a player and enjoyed my time there. Went overseas and played for a year in Norway, came back, got into the coaching world pretty much immediately. Back then, and Addy had to date me, so I have to talk about it. First off, I didn't have a cell phone, so there was only landlines when I was being recruited. But second off, there wasn't a lot of GA opportunities. It was a lot more of just stepping into coaching. And so I was actually fortunate enough that I stepped right into an assistant role. And I was at Quincy for 4 years and then got my first head job at St. Ambrose up in Iowa, which is an NAIA school, and had some success there. Actually got out of coaching for a couple of years and then got back in at a school within St. Ambrose Conference and helped build a program from ground up there. And then after that, went to Truman State, back to my alma mater, which was really special. Some 6 great years there. Miller called me to come down and help her out a year as she was pregnant and getting ready to have a child. And then she left to take a new job, and I was fortunate to step into the head role here. So, I've just been really blessed and fortunate and grateful for all the opportunities I've had. And as I said yesterday in my press conference, everything and all the people I've surrounded myself by, players and my staff, and that have led me to what's to come.
Well, and as far as what's to come, and Coach Miller, you're talking about going to Cedarville. I mean, you're 177-39 as an assistant coach. Talk about the challenges that are in front of you taking over a Cedarville program that's maybe had its struggles.
Yeah, obviously, kind of who the people. I mean, Coach Eagan talked about it. It's who you put yourself around, right? I feel like if you have successful people around you and good people, that you're going to breed success, and that's kind of my goal. They used to win, and they used to win a lot before this previous coach. The coach there, I think she was there for 6 years, took the D1 job at Wright State, and she won a lot. The coaches before her won a lot. I think their overall winning percentage is in between 650 and 700, which is really, really good. Obviously, it's not Drury, but it's really, really good compared to a lot of other schools. So that's what they want to get back to. They want to get back to competing for conference championships and getting to the national tournament. And they talk about national championships, and that's what I talk about. It's my goal. It's always going to be my goal, no matter where I'm at. I think at the D2 level, it's a realistic goal if you can have the resources and the players. And you can't always say that at D1s, but I feel like that's going to be my goal until I decide to change again. So I think I can do that there. You got to get the right people and players and build the culture and build those relationships and get kids to play hard and to love the game. And if you do all that, you'll see wins and hopefully championships after that.
And Coach Eagan, you're in a similar situation moving on, but this, going to Lindenwood, they're brand new to the Division I, and Lindenwood, I've got some connections there. My dad was on the athletic staff there 20 years ago, and they kind of went through some trouble. But they've got tremendous facilities now. Moving into the D1, this is probably a challenge, but maybe not as big as a challenge as coming in behind Molly Miller. I think Coach Eagan froze up on us.
Either that or she didn't like the question, one of the two. But get her back here in a second. And yeah, that was brought up, and I think 2-24 this year for Lindenwood, and going back through looking at, I think they actually had to forfeit 2 or 3 games due to lack of players, which that's hard to do in today's expanded roster environment, I would think. Amy, do you know much about what was the circumstances for the forfeit games this year?
For the forfeit games down at Lindenwood?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries. They had 5 ACL tears this year. And so it was just lack of roster and not putting kids in a position that was going to endanger them more, hurt them more. I think they felt like they just needed to step away a little bit and try to get some kids that had some minor injuries healthy again.
A guy asked a great question. He said, we talked about it, you and I, yesterday, that, taking on a program that's new to D1, 2-24 this year, the challenge of that. But as Guy said, it's no different than following Molly Miller at Drury.
Yeah, in both situations, when I took over for Molly, one of the first questions I got was, how are you going to follow the greatness of Molly Miller? And of course, she's a legend, not only just at Drury, but also in the community and growing up there, and knows a ton of people in that. So, my answer was, I'm just going to be me. Like I was really comfortable, and I'm really comfortable with who I am as a person, first and foremost, and what I'm capable of doing as a coach. And so what I knew and what I was going to do was just come in and be myself, and add whatever I could to help the women grow into phenomenal young women and business women and mothers and daughters and so forth. And I think because of, adding Addy and Jordan, I was so lucky. I just got, I don't even know, but Addy would hopefully tell you the same thing. But we just had the perfect combination of a perfect staff. I think adding them in really elevated our program and what I wanted to do there. And, we had some great success because of that. And that's exactly what I expect to do at Lindenwood, is just be myself, be who I am. We've got a lot of work to do, obviously, with that program, but I have no doubt we're going to get it to where we want it to be.
Question for both of you. Do you, Addy, have to recruit a different style of player than you did at Drury, because you're in a conference now with Ashland? You've seen what they've done, what their model is. Do you look for a different type of player? And Amy, what about you going from D2 to D1? Do you have to get bigger to compete, or can you still recruit the same basketball player that you guys were doing when you were at Drury?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's about the same. I mean, you could probably go through our roster the last 3 years, and all of those kids, most of them had D1 offers or came from D1 programs. So for her, I don't think it's going to be a big change, because those are the kids that we brought into Drury. I think it'll be a little bit harder right away for me to bring those type of kids in to Cedarville, just because of the reputation that we've had at Drury. But that's going to be my goal. I want to play similar style of play to what we did at Drury in that fast pace. And I don't want to play like Ashland. I know they're bigger, but I feel like my dynamic and style of the program that I want to play is going to be really similar to Drury. So I'm going to look to recruit the same kids that I did there. It's just going to be a little bit different parts of the country. And there's kids like that everywhere. You just have to get in the niche in the AAU programs and high school programs and find those kids that have that competitive drive and want to win and want to play that style.
Yeah, and I feel like honestly, I feel like our team this year, and kind of like Addy said, I mean, we were full of a lot of kids, some transfer backs, a lot of kids that had D1 offers, some really high caliber kids that I don't think my recruiting has to change that much, especially initially with it. I think we would have fared well in the OVC this past year, in all honesty. And I'm not trying to be conceited with that. I think we would have done well in that conference. So. I think right now we're looking for kids that would have impacted us, obviously, at Drury, and then we'll continue to build from there. But I kind of have watched some of the OVC. I looked at some of the rosters, and this next year with the kids we were bringing into Drury and our roster, we would have been a lot bigger, and I think we would have matched up really well in the OVC.
And again, we're visiting with new Cedarville head women's basketball coach Addy Miller and the new head coach at Division I Lindenwood University, Amy Eagan. And coaches, I'm looking just at your personalities and going back to when you were a player. And Coach Eagan, I think you may still hold the all-time career assist record and steals record at Truman State University. Addy, for a long time, held the state record for career three-pointers. When you guys have liked to play together, and you're very different, just and talk about your relationships with coaches and how that difference in maybe the on-court personality, the difference there, how it kind of plays out on the bench for you.
I'll go first. Oh man, I would have just given her the ball every time. I've been like, spot up and shoot, spot up and shoot, spot up and shoot. Let me get downhill, creates, draw your defender, spot up and shoot. No, I mean, I think we would have loved, we're both competitors, and I think we would have loved playing together. And I think we would have very similar styles too as we played. But, I used to always kid with Addy, she'd get out there and either play with our kids or, guard our kids and that. And I'm like, God, can you just suit up right now? Like, come back and suit up because I think she's so talented. And, I coached against her when I was at Truman, and man, she was a pain in my rear. Yeah, I would have loved to played with her.
Yeah, same. I mean, obviously, me and Jordan tried to find film on Coach Eagan for many times. We struck out most of the time, but just to try to see, obviously, kind of know the way she played a little bit, but would have loved to see it and to play with her for sure. Just our dynamic, I feel like, in adding Jordan into it, Jordan's a little bit more of the jokester, but can be serious at times, and we make fun of him for being that way. But I feel like me and Amy are really similar in our just like demeanors. She's probably was a little bit more of a trash talker when she played. I didn't say a word that, Scott, I don't talk much. So I didn't talk much when I played either, but definitely we both have that competitive fire and just want to win. And I think we know the things that it takes to win. And so I think it would be really fun to play with her because I think we'd always be on the same page. We were on the same page coaching together. And so it was just a lot of fun. It was really hard to explain the dynamic that we had, but it worked. And we had enough difference in us that we kind of, all of our strengths fit together, and then our weaknesses, like, we overcame by someone else. So it was a lot of fun. Obviously, we were successful. Obviously, sad not to be coaching together again, but we might one day, and you never know what God has for us. And just excited to see what they do there and what she does at Lindenwood. And it's going to be good. No matter where she's at, she's going to win.
I don't know what's happening here, Guy, because I used to wake up in cold sweat at night. If they played in the same era, having a Drury radio show with Addy, Annie, Katie Pritchard, and Shelby White, where literally I would just have to talk the entire 55 minutes. Amy, apparently you've opened the floodgates with her somehow here. KP's the same way now. Shelby probably still doesn't talk. Annie probably still doesn't talk, right, Addy?
That's right.
Yeah. I've always wondered, and now that we've got two of you on here that have been at different schools, there's got to be one heck of a garage sale opportunity for old gear. Drury Lady Panther gear, garage sale. You've both been through Truman State, Pitt State. What do you do with all of it?
Go ahead.
Well, I will have a garage sale with everything marked free in our locker room here before I take off my final day. So, yeah, I'll bag all that up and, we'll put it in there. We want to obviously give back to the kids and let them get back to their families and anyone that can use any of that because we don't wear it as often. I'll keep a few pieces. Don't worry.
Addy, same thing?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I definitely still have a few pieces from Pitt. I'm going to keep a few from Drury. Usually they're at the lake or at my parents' house. But, yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, obviously give back. But you don't want to get rid of all of it. You had, fun and memories and lots of good times at both schools. So we'll always cherish both of those places and be thankful for both of them. So definitely going to keep some gear around.
How attractive is the Drury job that Nyla's got to fill now from both of you, having been there?
I mean, I think she's probably overwhelmed with the amount of interest in the position. I'd be shocked if she wasn't. I think she's going to have a ton of coaches that have a lot of talent that are interested. She's going to have a great pool to choose from. I mean, the tradition, you look at the tradition of the program, winningest program in Division II. You look at the success of the coaches, assistants and head coaches that have been there and what they have done after their careers there. And I think it's a really, really attractive job.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Just the amount of phone calls I feel like I've already had from head coaches around, different leagues asking about it. I can only imagine the traffic that Nyla's getting because of that, which is well deserved. I mean, I feel like it should be that way, and it's not surprising if it is that way.
And coaches, and we'll start with Coach Eagan. What's maybe one trait or something that you stole from Coach Miller? And same question to Addy later, but what are some things, sitting next to one another for the last 3 years, I guess, what are some things you stole from one another? And we'll start with Coach Eagan.
Yeah. Well, I could probably tell you a lot of things, but a few of the things that pop out immediately, I think Addy, and I said this to her, AD, is one of the smartest X's and O's coaches I've been around. So good in those areas. And, I think that I've taken probably even more than she realizes from her with X's and O's and, helping me on the bench with those kind of things. And she just contributed so much to that. And I'm very, very thankful for that. The other thing I think that one of the things I really, really love about Addy and that she brought to us in our program is her ability to challenge, to be competitive, to challenge me, but also to help me grow in areas, throughout my career at Drury. So there's so many things, but those things stand out immediately.
You just had to ask that question to get emotional for me, didn't you, Guy?
Here we go.
I mean, a lot of different things. I feel like going with kind of what she said, I am a very hard-headed person, just competitive probably to a fault at times. And I feel like when I kind of have my mindset, that's what I believe is right and correct. And she's taught me a lot that's not it. Not that I'm necessarily like wrong or it's not true, but there's a lot of different ways to handle different situations. I feel like she was willing, and I said this to a few people on different interviews, but I feel like she was willing to kind of like take me under her wing and teach me different things that a lot of head coaches wouldn't spend the time to do. I feel like she knew that I wanted to be a head coach, and she knew that I hope she thought that I was ready to do that. So she was willing to teach me like the ins and outs, not just like basketball and not just things on the court, but things off the court and how to handle tough situations and how to answer tough questions. And I feel like I've already used some of those things so far. So just the advice and just the willingness to teach. I feel like a lot of assistant coaches kind of have to learn on their own by observing and learning just through different things. But she was willing to like sit me down and talk to me about different things. And if I had questions, she was willing to answer her way. And I feel like she's just such a like she always has things under control. She's calm in any situation, whether it's tough or easy. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've learned from her is just how to handle tough situations off the court. On the court, yeah, I mean, I feel like we were always on the same page in what we wanted to adjust and what we wanted to do, like with the kids in the middle of a game. And I feel like that those times are heated moments, and sometimes head coaches just kind of want to take it all upon themselves. And I feel like she was willing to like ask and yeah, she could always tell me and Jordan no, but she was willing to hear like what we thought and what we were seeing that was going on during the game. And so just all of those things in terms of like leadership was the biggest thing that I will take away from her. There's a lot of different other things, but I feel like those are the like two main things that she's really helped me progress and be prepared to be a head coach in that way.
You know, we live in a different age now in 2023 with the transfer portal and NIL and things of that nature, which a lot of that doesn't always filter down. And I've always said that I think girls in general are smarter about assessing their future and their goal and what they want. It's maybe not as active in the portal, but here are two young women that are starting basically new programs in new places. How valuable to each of you can the portal be? And Amy, I think you said you need maybe 5 or 6 players at least. Addy, do you need that many? What do you have to go get?
Yeah, ideally 4. That's what my goal is to get. I could probably take up to 5 or 6, but I feel like right now 3 or 4 is kind of my goal. I feel like the transfer portal changes the game. However, at the same time, I think it makes it also very difficult. Some of those relationships that you built recruiting them the first time out of high school, that maybe they went D1 when we were at Drury, or maybe they went closer to home, or whatever the circumstance might be. I feel like without the portal, you have those relationships built and it might be easier to get them back the second time. However, now, yes, you still have those relationships, but they go into the portal and now they're open to, 20 D1 schools right away that's going to call them, or 20 D2 based off of who the person is. So I think it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for us, but I kind of feel sorry for the kid too. I can't imagine me transferring back to Drury and what that could have looked like or been different if that was a thing back then. So I think it's difficult for both, but I think it's an opportunity for both if you take it and run with it the correct way.
Amy?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need 5 or 6 kids. Addy knows, I know, it's all about getting the right kids. There's so many kids in there right now, but not all those kids are going to fit not only us and our style of play, but also who we are on and off the floor and what we want out of our program. And so that's really the biggest thing. And I'm both ways. I mean, I think you have to be okay with the transfer portal in regards to you better adjust and be willing to get into the transfer portal and understand that you might have some kids that go in the transfer portal and it's nothing personal. It's just different with the world we live in. I believe it more than anything, it's going to hurt the loyalty of kids to schools. In other words, like I have a huge passion for Truman State because I spent 4 years there. And I think the longer you're at a school, the more in love you fall with it, if that's how you want to put it, the more passion you have for it, the more I look back on, my experiences there and just love it, and I feel like that's going to be, kids are not going to have that maybe to schools as much. So I feel like it's going to affect some of that. But I'm the same way. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. It's all how you look at it. But I think it's a part of the world we live in right now.
And just a couple more questions, but one for each of you is, I've got guys I played, college ball with, football, baseball, guys I coached with. and there's different things with different guys, but there's always one thing that every time we get to visit on the phone, there's one thing that always comes up, and it may be something different with each one of those guys. When you guys talk on the phone, maybe it's a year from now, and I know you talk more often than that. But what is the one thing, the conversation you're going to say? Hey, do you remember when? I mean, what are things that really stand out in your mind each time you get to visit? And we'll let Coach Eagan go first.
Well, I think, oh gosh, there's going to be so many, but I think the COVID year and our run to the national championship will definitely be something. I mean, we still talk about that, like how it's crazy how that worked, and how we played 38 minutes of zone and the Final Four in the national championship, and so I would definitely say those things. There's probably going to be a lot of jokes that we talk about and laughs that we have of just us as a staff and the things we went through and experienced that some of the kids probably don't even know about and realize. But yeah, we have so many memories and so many great things that we'll always cherish and always come back to and joke about for sure. I can't give away all those because
yeah, I was gonna say there's probably a few things we'll talk about that probably shouldn't be vocalized to the community. But yeah, I mean, coming in and experiencing COVID was something none of us, obviously, no matter what aspect you are, what you do for a living, was prepared for. So just some of those times and conversations and memories we'll talk about for the rest of our lives for sure. However, one story, there was this one day that, and I don't remember, I guess it was the first, I don't remember what year it was, but we come in after Christmas break and she tells the girls, we're going to scrimmage today. So we needed to get them back in shape, but we didn't just want to run them. I don't even know how long we scrimmaged for. We're preparing to scrimmage for, but we scrimmaged. We split the teams up pretty even. And she goes up to him and she goes, "Okay, like I want you guys to trash talk. Like I don't care what you say, how you say it. Just be competitive. Think you're good, and let's just go have some fun." Well, we had some people on the team that were probably like me and Alice Heinzler, that if you were to tell us to probably trash talk one, we probably wouldn't have handled it the best. So a few decided that it was time for them to go. So they left practice and went to the locker room. But I will never forget that moment. It's because it's so Amy, but it's also so me at the same time, because I don't know how I would have handled it as a player and as a coach. I was just dying laughing the whole time. But something I'll definitely never forget. There's a lot of those out there. But that's one for sure that the girls will definitely have a laugh about when we talk about it the next time with them for sure.
I just got to say that, I'm sure that there's some openings on the schedule for an exhibition next year. What's the date on Cedarville at Lindenwood? Do we have that set yet or not?
Yeah, Amy, what is that date? I'll come anytime.
She muted herself on that one. What she's actually saying is, no way, not happening.
I said, no. I haven't gotten the schedule yet. So
yeah,
we'll see. Let's see.
There you go.
One day, maybe one day.
My last question, we'll start with Addy. Addy, I'm going to pull a picture up here. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Tell us a little bit, if you could go back. Now, I believe that was 2011, the state championships.
Yep.
So 12 years ago, basically almost to the date.
Yep.
If you could go back to that Addy Roller that's in that picture and give her some advice based on what you now know, what advice would you give that junior Addy Roller?
Yeah, that's tough. I think there's a lot of things I would tell myself. One of them being, like, as we all know, just the competitor I am, and just the desire and willingness to like win no matter what, not just basketball, but just whatever I'm doing. So just to mainly like enjoy the big moments. I think I have done a better job of that now, being a Drury, just being thankful for those and like taking time to enjoy them. I feel like back then I probably was just in probably my first couple years of my coaching career and college career was just move on to the next and what's the next thing I can do and just continue instead of being thankful and just live in the moment. I feel like I've done a better job of that the last couple years. And so that's what I would tell myself the most. Like, don't be in a hurry. Enjoy those times. Yeah, there's going to be hard times and good times, and that's okay. And just enjoy both of those, and it's going to build you into a better person and a better mom and wife and all that kind of stuff. So that's the biggest thing, is probably slow down to enjoy those moments instead of just move on to the next.
Coach Eagan, if you could go back to that similar time in your high school career and give yourself some advice based on what you know now, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, don't take a day for granted. There's nothing I would change about my career. There's nothing I would change about my coaching career, the path that I've had. Not one single thing with it, because it's all led me to today. But that you forget as a kid. You think it's hard. It's not hard as a kid. There's a lot of things I wish I would have even done a little bit more as a player. Going through it, and looking back now, that I think could have made me even more successful. But I wouldn't change it. But I wish I could have realized that a little bit more as a player. The advice that I would give everybody, that I think, I don't think I really realized this early in my life and in my career, but I know 100% now, is to surround yourself with good people first. I say that over and over, and surround yourself with good people and everything else will fall in place. So that's the advice I'd give myself as a young kid, that I didn't realize then, that I've been very, very fortunate to have, and the advice that I'd give everybody else.
Scott, you've got a finishing question.
Oh, I just say that if it were Drury and Ashland right now, who do you like?
Drury.
You'd love another
No
shot
doubt.
at it, wouldn't you?
Yes.
No doubt.
Well,
Addy had a really good game plan for them.
There you go. Well, you guys had a phenomenal run at Drury, and personally, just want to say best wishes to two good coaches and better people. So, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
You betcha.
And ladies, y'all, I'm honored that you're both willing to trust me enough to come on here together. And I know, like I said, I'll go way back with Addy, and I will never forget. And each time we talk, it is, do you remember that Christmas Eve when I had nobody to talk to on the show, and Coach Young called you and said, "Hey, you're in Springfield shopping. Get over to the Jock." She came in, just talked the whole 2 hours. So she's always talking as far as to me, Scott.
Yes, Scott. There you go.
I'd like to think that I helped that cause a little bit at Drury, maybe, but no, that just a joy to be around, and her family as well, and get to know Amy. I know that I'll be a fan of Linwood and be checking in from time to time to see how things are going.
You bet. We will do the same. And Addy, I apologize. I had to pull rank on you and call your dad. I said, did she change her cell number? She's not calling me back.
Big timing you. That's what she does.
I know.
Big
I
time.
know.
She's a head coach now, guy. You got to get an appointment. Okay.
Well, ladies, thank you so much. And Coach Eagan, safe travels. Enjoy the Final Four. Coach Miller, thank you so much for being part of the show. And Scott, I know you're kind of pulling double duty here, but I appreciate, as always, anytime that you can be a part of it. And we look forward to catching up with you, next year during the basketball season. Just give us 10 or 12 minutes, and we'll get you on the Missouri Sports Network.
You betcha. Appreciate it.
You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.